The Carbonite Candy Quest begins today on the Cluttered Kraken. Welcome to the Cluttered Kraken, where we talk about being an indie artist, selling online, at cons, and creating, as well as the behind-the-scenes stuff like geeky homesteading, working from home in general, survival as an independent creator today. I'm Chris McClanahan with Deeply Dapper, and in this video we are diving into freeze-dried candy some more. So this is our first video in the series, and for this one I thought we'd start out with one candy that I know works, and a couple of candies that I wasn't real sure about. So let's dive in and find out what happens when you freeze-dry Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, and Bit-O-Honeys. Little heads up at the beginning of this, since I recorded my first video in this series, I've acquired a plague. Not the plague, but a plague. So my voice is a little scratchier than it was last time even, and I'm surviving, but I am not as energetic as I was before. I've also been banned from the Big Rock Candy basement, so I managed to abscond with a few of our tests, but my wife has sort of kicked me out of all business-related areas while I am recovering from this nonsense. But we power through. October waits for no man. So first off, we freeze-dried Sour Patch Kids. Now, I love Sour Patch Kids. They're one of my favorite candies. I love that kick of sour on the outside and then the transition into the sweetness. We all know what Sour Patch Kids look like. They're pretty generic, little vaguely child-shaped things. And I enjoy them. They're gummy, they're soft. Freeze-dried version of them, exactly the same. They did absolutely nothing in the freeze dryer except get a little bit harder. Oh, see, it broke, but that is the extent of what it did, and that's probably as much because I had it sitting out in the dry Idaho air as it is because we freeze-dried it, honestly. Let's find out with this one. Okay, so they are a little more fragile, but the taste... So yeah, the taste is exactly the same. They're just a little harder, so if you want to make stale Sour Patch Kids, get a freeze dryer. Let's go on to test number 2, which is Skittles. Now, Skittles are the obvious winner for this one. They're the thing that if you talk to somebody about freeze-dried candy and they have even the vaguest familiarity with it, they know it's freeze-dried Skittles. Partially because they're kind of foolproof, honestly. We've tried Skittles at 120 degrees, 140 degrees, 135 degrees, and Skittles work every way you want to freeze dry them. In fact, we've done a couple of afterburners where you freeze dry something in the drum, and after it finishes, it goes into a final drying cycle where it is literally just running the vacuum and the heat trays on it. And we've thrown Skittles in after something else and run it for an extra 4 or 5 hours, and the Skittles still work then. So they don't need the freezing process of it, just the sublimation vacuum pressure pulling on it to create something really cool. So Skittles obviously start out with the gummy Skittles, and they're fine. They've got a candy shell on the outside. But freeze drying does this to them. Which is really cool. So as you can see, not only are they puffed, they've cracked the shell, the vacuum has pulled them out, but they've changed the consistency entirely. They went from a chewy candy to a crispy candy. It's not even so much crunchy as crispy. It's very airy. It's got a little bit of a more intense flavor to it as well. It's a little tartar, and I feel like the flavor of the individual Skittles comes through stronger in the freeze-dried version versus the regular ones. So freeze-dried Skittles are an absolute win. They are a must-do if you own a freeze dryer. They're super easy, they're super fun, they're delicious and addicting. And as always, if you do want to try the ones that do work of these, I do have a link below to our Etsy shop where we do sell some of our freeze-dried candies on there. And finally, we've got Bit of Honey. Always the bottom of the bag candy for me for Halloween. I have always kind of liked the flavor to it, but they're hard. They're like hard enough that I can break them if they're cold, which this one was just now. But I've always despised the consistency of them. They're like a taffy that isn't trying very hard. So freeze drying them completely changes them into what is probably one of my personal favorite freeze-dried things. This is a freeze-dried Bit of Honey. So as you can see, the Bit of Honeys get crispy, they poof. This is actually a half a Bit of Honey here that we've cut and then freeze dried. We've only tried this one at the 135 and the 125 temperatures. We did find that when we ran it at the 145, it actually was a little warm for it, and the crispy consistency of it actually downgraded a little bit and got almost like slightly caramelized. So I wouldn't recommend doing this at the higher temperature for the Bit of Honeys, but they freeze up awesome. Freeze, cook? I'm not sure what the right terminology is for that. So I can't really vouch too much for the flavor on the Bit of Honeys specifically because I can't even really chew them at this point. They're just really hard, or at least these ones are. Not the freshest Bit of Honeys in the world. But the freeze-dried version of them is excellent. It's crispy, it's crunchy, the honey flavor comes through pretty well on it, and the nut actually gets a little stronger as well. So if you like the flavor of Bit of Honeys but have never liked the texture, freeze-dried Bit of Honeys, 100% the way to go with them. They're pretty great, honestly. So those were my first 3 freeze-dried candy experiments for our Carbonite Candy Countdown. As you can see, it's kind of inconsistent. I'm really surprised that the Sour Patch Kids didn't do anything. I've seen a few other gummy things, and you'll see some of them in upcoming videos. And I was genuinely hoping something would happen with these. And there must be something about the balance of like corn syrup to water to sugar, and that's something I'm going to be looking at closer as I kind of dive into this a little bit more and see if I can figure out why certain things do, why certain things don't, if there's something I can do to tweak these to make them do something in the freeze dryer. We'll see. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. As always, if you'd like to watch more of my videos, you can hit like and subscribe. There are links to my other YouTube channels on our main page, and you can find links to everything we do at deeplydapper.com. A huge thank you to my patrons as well. Their support over on Patreon makes this possible. I wouldn't be able to do all these videos and create what we create without your help and assistance and support. I really appreciate all of you. And as always, may you live in interesting times.